My name is Elias Thorne, and for the last 5 summers, I have lived 70 feet above the world, encased in glass and solitude. My home is Lookout Tower 7, a skeletal spire of rusting iron and weathered wood perched on the crown of Black Spire Peak in the heart of the vast, unnamed national forest. My job is simple: to watch, to scan the endless green sea of fir, pine, and spruce for the first faint whisper of smoke. It's a job for those who prefer the company of wind to people, and I'm perfectly suited for it. The tower is a single room, a 14 by 14-foot cube with windows on all sides. It holds a cot, a small wood stove, a desk with a radio, and my most important tools: a Osborne firefinder, a pair of heavy, tripod-mounted binoculars, and my own keen eyes. My only regular human contact is the daily radio check-in with Ranger Station Bravo at 0800 and 1700 hours. The voice on the other end is usually Janet, a woman whose warmth feels like a distant, remembered dream from down here in the trees. The silence up here isn't empty. It's full. It's the whisper of a billion needles in the wind, the cry of a distant hawk, the creak of the tower itself swaying like a metronome keeping time for the forest. I know its rhythms, its moods, or I thought I did. It started subtly about a week ago, a distortion in the pattern. The first thing was the silence, not the usual profound quiet, but a dead silence. The birds, the jays, the nuthatches, the chickadees that usually flitted around the tower vanished. The air grew still and heavy, devoid of even the whisper of wind. It was the silence of a held breath. I noted it in my logbook as unusual animal behavior and tried to ignore the prickle on the back of my neck. Then came the sounds that didn't belong. At night, long after sunset, I began to hear it. A low rhythmic beating, like a giant slow heart. Thump, thump, thump. It wasn't coming from the ground. It seemed to emanate from the air itself. A deep subsonic vibration that I felt in my bones more than heard with my ears. It would start around midnight and continue until the first hint of dawn tinged the eastern sky. I pressed my ear to the cabin floor, scanned the forest with my night vision monocular, but I never found a source. The forest below was a still black lake. During my 0800 check-in yesterday, I mentioned it to Janet. Tower 7 to Bravo, radio check, over. Read you loud and clear. Elias, everything quiet up on the spire? Over. Quiet's the wrong word, Janet. Been hearing things at night. I hear rhythmic thumping, low frequency. Any seismic activity reported? Over. There was a pause longer than usual. When her voice came back, it was clipped, professional, stripped of its usual warmth. Negative Tower 7. No seismic reports. Continue standard observation. Report any visual confirmation. Bravo out. The abruptness of the sign-off was more unsettling than the sound itself. Janet always ended with a "stay safe up there" or "talk to you at 1700." Never just bravo out. The day passed with a tense, watchful normality. The dead silence persisted. No birds, no squirrels chattering, nothing. It was as if the forest was waiting. As evening fell, a thick gray fog began to coil up from the valleys below. which was unusual for the season. It wasn't a wet, misty fog. It was dry and cold, smelling of ozone and damp stone, like the air inside a deep cave. I did my final sweep with the binoculars as the light failed. That's when I saw it. Due north, in a deep, narrow valley we called the Stone Maw, there was a light. It wasn't fire. It was a sickly phosphorescent green, pulsing softly in time, with the thumping sound I now realized had already begun. It illuminated the fog from within, creating a glowing, amorphous blob in the heart of the forest. My hand went to the radio. Tower 7 to Bravo. Come in, Bravo. Static. Then Janet's voice, tight with a strain I'd never heard before. Go ahead, Tower 7. I have a confirmed anomalous light source, bearing 355 degrees from my position. In the Stone Maw. It's a pulsating green light, no visible source. Over. Another long pause. I could hear muffled voices in the background at her end. Elias, she said, her voice dropping to a near whisper. Log the observation. Do not. Repeat. Do not investigate. Acknowledge. Over. Acknowledge? But Janet, what is... Just log it. Elias Bravo out. The connection died. I was alone again, with the thumping and the unearthly green glow. I spent the night in a chair, my binoculars trained on the light, my logbook open on my lap. I didn't sleep. The thumping felt like it was inside my skull, a primitive drum counting down to something. This morning, the fog had retreated, and the green light was gone. The thumping had ceased with the dawn, but the forest was still silent. I did my radio check. Janet was back to her normal self, but there was a brittle quality to her cheerfulness. Everything all right, Elias? Over? The light and the thumping stopped at dawn. Forest is still quiet, too quiet. Over. Copy that. Just keep watching the skies for smoke. Everything else is secondary. Bravo out. Everything else is secondary. The phrase rattled around in my head. Since when was an unexplained pulsating light in a national forest secondary? The day dragged on. The silence was maddening. I tried to read, but the words swam on the page. I cleaned my already spotless windows. I realigned the firefinder for the 10th time. My skin was crawling with a restless, paranoid energy. Around 1500 hours, a new sound began. A scratching. It was faint at first, easy to dismiss as a branch rubbing against the tower's support legs. But it grew steadily louder, more persistent. Scritch, scritch, scratch, scritch, scritch, scratch. It was a methodical, intelligent sound. It was coming from directly below me, from the trapdoor in the floor that led down the long staircase to the ground. My blood went cold. I stood up slowly, my heart hammering. I picked up the heavy fire axe I keep by the door. A tool for emergencies, for cutting myself out of a jam door, not for defense. I'd never needed it for defense. I crept to the center of the room and looked down at the trapdoor. It was a simple square of wood, bolted from the inside. The scratching was directly on the other side. Something was on the staircase, just below my floor. Scritch, scritch, scratch, pause. Scritch, scritch, scratch. It was getting more impatient. I stood there, frozen, axe in hand, for what felt like an hour. The scratching didn't stop. It didn't move. It remained focused on that one spot, right under my feet. Finally, driven by a terror that was curdling into a furious need to know, I knelt down, my knees popping in the silence, and put my ear to the wood. The scratching stopped. In the absolute quiet, I heard something else. A wet, ragged breathing, and then a voice. It was a horrible parody of a human voice, guttural and shredded, as if forced through a damaged larynx. It whispered a single clear sentence up through the wood. "The forest is watching you back." I recoiled from the trapdoor, scrambling backward on my hands and heels until I hit the opposite wall. A cold sweat drenched my body. I gripped the axe handle so hard I thought the wood would splinter. The radio on my desk crackled to life, making me jump. It wasn't Janet's voice. It was a man's voice, deep and authoritative, one I didn't recognize. "All stations, all lookouts. This is a Forest Service priority broadcast. Effective immediately, we are initiating a code black. I repeat, code black is in effect. Acknowledge receipt. Over." My training flashed through my mind. Code red was for a major fire sighting. Code blue for a medical emergency. I had never, in all my manuals or briefings, heard of a code black. The radio fell silent, waiting for acknowledgements. I heard nothing. No other lookouts, no ranger stations, just dead air. The voice returned sharper now. "Tower 7, acknowledge code black. Over." My mouth was dessert dry. I stumbled to the desk and keyed the mic. "Tower 7, acknowledging. Request clarification on code black protocol over." The response was immediate and chilling. "Code black protocol is simple. Lookout. Yeah, you stay in your tower. You do not, under any circumstances, come down no matter what you hear, no matter what you see. You are the eyes, nothing more. Maintain your watch. Bravo out." The transmission ended. The silence in the tower was now absolute. The scratching at the trapdoor had stopped. The thing on the stairs was gone, but the message was clear. I was a prisoner in my glass cage. The forest below was no longer just a wilderness. It was a hostile territory. And code black meant I had been left here, 70 feet in the air, as a sacrifice, a witness. The sun is setting now, painting the sky in bloody oranges and purples. The dead silence has returned, and from the depths of the stone moor, the sickly green light has begun to pulse once more. The thumping hasn't started yet, but I can feel it coming. I can feel it in my teeth. I'm posting this using a satellite link I rigged for personal use. Against regulations, I don't know if it will get out. If anyone can hear this, if anyone knows what a code black really means, please. I'm still watching, but I don't know what I'm watching for anymore, and I don't know how long the door will hold.